Hi, I'm Steve Rawson, baker and owner of Marty's Munchies. We've been in business since 2008. We deal with brownies, cookies, bundt cakes, you name it, we pretty much do it. We don't specialize in one thing, we would like to specialize in everything. Since a child, I've been watching my mother bake. And she was an executive baker, and she taught me a lot of things. And I watched her throughout my life, and she was amazing. She taught me everything I know. And she passed away young and never got a chance to open up her own business. My wife and I decided to open up a business and name it after her. I'm a graduate of Western Culinary up in Portland, Oregon. I graduated with honors, and that was back in 1995. And from there, I moved to Las Vegas and chef there for a few years, and then I moved here to LA and met my wife and opened this business. We're at my home here in Los Angeles, and today we're going to learn the basics of cake decorating and maybe some more advanced tips on how to do other techniques, as well as show you what I do in my business. You have to have kind of a system, and we here like to use pretty much the same method on each cake, but different styles. We like to use crumbs on the edges of cakes because it brings out the color and also shows people what cake is inside. So if it's a red velvet, we like to put red velvet crumbs around the cake. If it's chocolate, we'll do the same, we'll do the chocolate. That way they know what they're gonna get on the inside. With the crumbs, instead of them throwing them away, they can put it into a mixer, or not a mixer, excuse me, a Roboku or a Cuisinart, make it crumbs, and use that as for decoration purposes. It's a quick, easy way to do it. First, we're going to show you some tools on how to decorate a cake. First off, we have is your mixing bag. The mixing bag is very simple. You just set it up and you form it around your hand, so that way you can fill it up the bag. It's very simple, easy technique. Also, most importantly, you have your tips. Tips like this one here is a 1M tip. We'll get into that later, but it helps decorate a certain weave of a cake, or you can use this to do all sorts of stars, decorates. It's pretty simple. We'll get into that later. Measuring spoons, measuring cups. Very important when you're baking. Cooking's one thing, baking is another thing. Baking is all about exact, precise measurements. You just can't throw something together and get a cake. You have to be precise. But you have your measuring cups. Here I have these fancy ones here, but this goes from cup to a quarter of a cup. And it's nice to have them together, attached together, because these do get lost. Your cake knife. Now the cake knife, it's a serrated edged knife. It's very sharp. That's why you don't want to hold it, hold the edge. It's used to used to cut layers for your cake, to pipe in icing in between each layer. The longer the blade, the more cake sizes you can handle, like a half sheet. You need to be able to slice into any size cake, and this is the perfect knife to use. This brand is Ateco. They've been in the cake business forever. Okay, now this is the basically the throwaway bag. I use this bag here. They come in you can buy them individually, or you can buy them in a 100 pack. You could use these for all your fine tips to decorate your cakes. The big bag I like to use for the base, but these are definitely the ones you want to use for different colors and what have you not. Cake pan. This here is a 8-inch cake pan. They all come in different sizes and shapes. This is a 3-inch height with an 8-inch base. You also can get the smaller one, which is a 2-inch, 8-inch base. These are just standard cake pans. These are what if you're going to do a cake, the professionals like to use these because, number one, they all have the same thickness in the metal. They give off the same amount of heat on each pan so you don't over bake your cakes. All right. Also, we'll get into later, but you can line your cake pans as well on the bottom so it prevents sticking and the cakes come right out. And next, the most important thing in the kitchen for mixing is a mixing bowl. You have to have a mixing bowl, or you can do it by hand, which is not fun. But you have a mixing bowl. The one I prefer is the K6 modeled mixing bowl. Basically it's a 6-quart mixing bowl with a paddle right here. And so the most important tool to have with a mixing bowl would be a spatula. Number one thing you need to do when you're using a mixing bowl is each step you go through, you need Mr. Spatula here to scrape the bowl inside. Prefer you turn the machine off and take the bowl off, then scrape, then put the bowl back in, and then mix. Never ever do you mix, take the spatula while the bowl is in place. You could cause some injury. But this is the best tools to have when you're using the mixing bowl. Now, this is not your typical set of measuring spoons. This is a professional's set. It's set up from a 1/4 teaspoon all the way up to a 2 tablespoon, measurer. Now, when you're dealing with large quantity of cake, having a large spoon is very important. It helps speed up process. It gets things done quicker. With baking, you need precision. Now these here are precision. You got to make sure they're level. Every time you take a measurement, you level it out. You never have a rounded spoon. You level it out, then you put it into the cake mix or into the flour mix. You never ever just grab a teaspoon out of the cabinet or something and just use that, because your cake's not going to turn out right. Next, your cup measurer. This is a 2-cup measurer. They all different variant from sizes from 1 cup up to 4 cups, and professionals like myself, we have 8-cup measurers. But these here, they measure from cups, ounces. Ounces that I use mostly. I don't go by the cup, I go by ounce mostly, because most professional recipes are set to ounces, and that's the best way to go. It's easier to go by an ounce because we're going like 1 2/3. Instead of 1 2/3, it's more like 14 ounces. You don't want to. It's easier to go by a number than by a fraction. Okay, you don't want to go by fractions all the time. You want to go by the number. I use this. This is what you call a hand juicer. I prefer hand juicers actually because I like to use the natural juice of lemons instead of using bottled lemon juice. It's very simple. This is set for a small. It's easy to hold when you're juicing it, as well as you can pour it out as well and refine it. Now that's your basic tools. Now we can get into basic ingredients, so we can get your first steps of making a cake. One of the most important ingredients in baking is vanilla. You need a nice flour. There's a King Arthur flours are really good. A nice butter will change the cake's flavor and texture. For me personally, the flavor is the most important thing.